Hi, how's everybody doing? Welcome to the Young Brother of Soul podcast show. And guess what? Yeah, I think you already know who it is. It is your guy, the Young Brother of Soul. First and foremost, I want to give a shout out to my cousin Tyrell who made this suggestion for this episode. So, shout out to you, cousin Tyrell. And shout out to the Oakland Wildcats again because we're going to Florida. Yeah. But on today's episode of the Young Brother of Soul podcast show, what I want to talk about is something a little serious that's been going on with the NFL. Now, believe it or not, there are a lot of former NFL players that has been suffering from CTE. And believe it or not, CTE is caused by so many concussions, injuries to the brain. And believe it or not, yes, like I said, this episode is a little serious right now because I just want to talk about, the CTE situation in the NFL. Now, to be honest with you, do y'all think that there's going to be a cure for CTE? That's a good question, right? Do you think that there would be a good cure for CTE? I mean, far as I know, there are so many former NFL players that passed away due to CTE, and it's a long list, to be honest with you. It has to be at least over maybe 30 or 40 former NFL players. And to be honest with you, a lot of former NFL players, they, during a prime, suffered CTE, concussions. Them concussions are no joke to play with, to be honest with you. And not only that, it's not just football that that a player can suffer from CTE. You could suffer CTE from hockey. You could suffer CTE from boxing, and you can suffer CTE from wrestling, even though it's entertainment. But wrestling is still scripted. But at the end, you still can get seriously hurt. You still can get seriously hurt in wrestling. I mean, there's a wrestler. Well, I'm not even going to go in that detail right now because I think we all know why. But former wrestler who suffered from CTE badly, Chris Benoit. So I'm gonna just leave it at that. But yeah, there are a lot of former NFL players that lost their lives because of CTE. I mean, with CTE, it actually changes a player's, you know, mood. One minute they could be happy, the next minute they could be upset, they could be very aggressive, and then they do things that which they don't mean to do because it's, in the brain, you know. Man, the list goes on and on, like I said, with these former NFL players that suffered from CTE. You had RIP to all these players that are on the list as of right now. You had Bubba Smith, former defensive end for the Baltimore Colts, Ken Stabler, Andre Waters. Well, before I go on to Andre Waters, Ken Stabler was a phenomenal quarterback for the Oakland Raiders back in the 1970s. You know, no matter what position you play in the NFL, offense, defense, offense, you still can suffer a concussion. You still can get seriously hurt, career ending injuries. you know, but that CTE is no joke, man. It's no joke. And not only that, a lot of former players suffer from CTE. Some players have dementia, Alzheimer's. So, and another thing is, I'm surprised a lot of former NFL players don't have Parkinson's disease, taking so many shots to the head. But, you never know what may or may not happen after that. Andre Waters, who was a very physical safety for the Philadelphia Eagles, took his own life because of CTE. It makes you sad, it makes you depressed, it makes you angry. You don't know what's the outcome of this brain disease is. You really don't know what the outcome is. Yeah, I mean, you had Mike Webster, who was a former center for the Pittsburgh Steelers, passed away because of CTE. CTE, like I said, is there going to be a cure for this? You know, is there going to be a specialist that'll help former NFL players that are suffering from CTE before they pass, God forbid? You know, I believe in the NFL or the NHL, if you're a former athlete that played in those sports, once you retire, I believe they should automatically make you go to the doctors to see if your brain is suffering from CTE. That's what I believe because it's so physical, it's so contact, you know. But you never know what they may or may not do, but we shall see. Then you had Marion Barber, former running back of the Dallas Cowboys, who passed away. Said he had passed away of a heat stroke, but they some people say it may have been because of CTE too. If I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong. But Night Train Lane, who was one of the most fiercest defensive backs in the NFLs in the 1950s and 60s, he is still the only player in NFL history that has only 14 interceptions in one season, and he was a hard hitter. Yeah, he was just like Andre Waters. He was a hard hitter, and I believe all that hard hitting may have caught up to him and gave him CTE. He probably had quite a few concussions because a lot of players from back in the day had concussions, and it's like you're starting to hear it more and more now with the NFL. You know, but boy, then you had Gale Sayers, the late great Gale Sayers, who was a phenomenal running back for the Chicago Bears. I mean, he scored 6 touchdowns in one game. Like he was that good until his career was cut to a career-ending injury. But from what I'm hearing, I heard that he has CTE. You know, it's just like I said, the list goes on and on and on and on and on and on with these former players that had CTE that may have passed away because of CTE. Then you had O.J. Simpson. OJ was the first running back to have over 2,000 yards in the season. He was the first. I believe he did it in 1973. He passed away too, but a lot of former players get autopsies, and they're saying that he may have had CTE too. You know, O.J. Simpson was one of the greatest running backs of all time. Like I said, he was the first running back to have over 2,000 yards in a season. Yeah. Then you have Frank Gifford, who played for the New York Giants. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Frank Gifford in 1960 got hit so hard by Chuck Bednarik that he was out the whole season, the rest of the season. Then he was out the next year. Then he came back playing football. But Frank Gifford, yeah, definitely was a great player in the NFL. And it's rumored saying that he had CTE. You know, it may have been caused because of that hit because from Chuck Bednarik. You never know because he was out the whole season and out for the next season. That's a heck of an injury. That's a heck of a concussion. It knocked him out cold. So that right there may be a prime example of one of the CTE situation that's going on. Tony Dorsett, one of the greatest running backs of all time, played with the Dallas Cowboys back in the 1970s. Rumor has it that he has CTE. You know, you hate to hear good former NFL players that are suffering from such a thing, but you know, it happens. It's the NFL. You know, really don't like hearing stuff like that, but like I said, it's the NFL. It's a contact sport. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. John Mackey, phenomenal tight end, who played with the Baltimore Colts. Rumor has it that he had suffered from CTE when he passed away. He played with Bubba Smith, who played on that 1970s Baltimore Colts Super Bowl V champions. I mean, it's just crazy. Chris Henry, who was a good wide receiver for the Cincinnati Bengals. I remember when he passed away in 2009. I remember that. He said he had a altercation with him and his spouse, and he was on the truck while she was driving, and he fell off. And I believe they had an autopsy for him, and rumor has it that he was suffering from CTE. CTE, man. The most craziest CTE situation. The late, great Junior Seau, who played in the NFL for 20 years, linebacker. He played with the Chargers, I believe the Browns, Dolphins, and the Patriots. I remember when he took his own life in 2012. That was crazy. He took his own life, suffering from CTE. Too many shots to the head. You know, too many shots to the head, man. And last but not least, well, we're not really sure what happened with this situation right here, but this player played with the Dallas Cowboys, and his name is Marshawn Kneeland. Believe it or not, this guy actually scored a touchdown Monday night playing against the Arizona Cardinals on special teams. He scored a touchdown, and then on Thursday he took his own life that same week. So that right there, everybody don't know what the situation going on with that. But that's crazy. You score a touchdown and then you take your own life, man. Like, that's why you don't know what people are actually going through in life. But like I said, this CTE situation, man, do y'all think it's going to be a cure for it? Do y'all think former NFL players should automatically go see a specialist once they retire to see if they have CTE or not? I think they should, but who knows what are they going to do? Who knows? All I'm saying is, it's so many great NFL players, NHL, boxers, wrestlers that suffer from CTE. Too many concussions. When you have a lot of concussions, that is not good for your brain. No, it's not. It's not good for your brain, man. And the thing about it is, it's been going on so long. It's just, you know, it's like, what can you do? What can you do? Like I said, CTE, it makes you act strange. It makes you act sad. It makes you depressed. It makes you angry. It's something else, to be honest with you. It's something else. So, to be honest with you, like I said, I believe that one day they're going to find a cure for CTE with this modern technology that we have, but we don't know how long that would be. So, all I can say is for former athletes, try to protect yourself at all times. Which got me was I still don't understand how you wear helmets in the NFL and you still suffer a concussion. How you wear shoulder pads, you still break your collarbone. Everybody talks about that to this day. Like, how do you wear a helmet and you still suffer a concussion? On the front or on the back? In the back or the front? Mm, 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 mm. You'd be surprised, man. You really be surprised. But, you know, it's like, how can I say this? Concussions, torn ligaments, even torn Achilles are the most common injuries in the NFL. I mean, you barely hear about anybody breaking their arms or their legs anymore. It's always a torn ACL or something like that. But those are the top three known injuries in football: concussions, torn ligaments, and torn Achilles. So, I feel for those who are suffering from CTE. Like I said, I wish they'd come up with a cure, which I believe they will come up with it. But like I said, I don't know how long it's going to be. But hopefully they'll come up with that cure and it'll just go away. But as of right now, we don't know how long it's going to be. No, we don't. And those are your well-known former NFL players that suffer from CTE. I mean, the list goes on and on and on, but I couldn't go on that long with that list. But these are your well-known players that suffer from CTE. Like I said, you can play offense, you can play defense, you can be the hardest hitter in the NFL, and you still can get a concussion. You still can get CTE if you keep getting so many concussions in your career. So, like I said, cure, hopefully. Once you retire, see a specialist. That's all I'm going to say. But other than that, it's just nothing we could do right now. There's nothing we can do. You suffer a concussion. How long do you be out for? A week, 2, 3, 4, a whole month? I believe it depends on how hard you get hit. But, yeah, them concussions ain't no joke, man. Like I said, it make you forget your head, your brain. It's something to think about, and it's something to worry about at the same time. But it's how can I say? You might as well say concussions are part of the game. Injuries in football are part of the game. Injuries in hockey, part of the game. Injuries in basketball, even baseball, golf, boxing. Injuries in sports, period. Part of the game. Part of the game. And there are quite a few NBA players that suffer concussions when they've fallen or trying to grab the ball or trying to save the ball, hitting their head on that hard floor. Yeah, yeah. Same thing with hockey. Hockey is a very physical sport. It's physical just like basketball, physical just like football. I actually meant to say football, by the way. And what's crazy is back in the day, a lot of hockey players they didn't play hockey with helmets on, which is very shocking. I don't even know how they allowed that in the NHL, like during the 50s and 60s and the 40s. They well even before that, hockey did not let players wear helmets. You mean to tell me all that physical bumping, knocking each other down, and slamming each other on the glass or the protection? Well, it's not really glass though, but doing all that and you're not wearing a helmet? Excuse me? No, 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 no. There was this one player, I forgot his name, and I forgot what team it was. He got hit so hard that he had a deep gash and he was bleeding heavily. And I believe in the year 1975 or 1976, that's when the NHL made helmets mandatory in hockey. They made it mandatory. I mean, you're playing hockey with no helmets on, and your head is hitting that ice, solid ice. And you think, and players knocking each other down, like boom, boom. You're not gonna be okay after that. You're gonna feel that, man. I was recently watching a video about a former player who played with the Flyers. Then he got traded to the Rangers. I forgot his name. He suffered so many concussions in 1 year. Then he came back into the league. Well, he came back during the playoffs and suffered yet another concussion. Like, what good is that going to do? If you keep suffering concussions in one season, you might as well sit the whole rest of the season out. Then I believe the next year he sat out the rest of the year. Then he came back into the league, but that that doesn't make it no better, you know. And you definitely could suffer a concussion in baseball. Some players got hit in the head with a baseball. Do you know how hard a baseball is? A baseball is hard, especially when it's coming from a pitcher. When you're at bat and they throw it a certain way by an accident and you get hit in the head, you're going to feel that. You're going to feel that. That's a heck of a concussion. So, but baseball, you know, is less physical than football and hockey, but you still can get hurt in baseball. That's why I was saying I'm shocked that a lot of former NFL players don't have Parkinson's disease, but you know, like I said, you never know. You never know. But yeah, the CTE situation that really has to be taken care of and really has to be looked out, man. Like that is a very serious situation. You know, that's why this episode, like I said, I wanted to talk about CTE. Well, my cousin gave me the idea. So, like I said, shout out to my cousin Tyrell. Hopefully he's watching. And, you know, just gotta, if you're an athlete, you just gotta protect yourself at all times. Or try to protect yourself at all times. Even with physical sports. I mean, physical contact. Can't control the situation, but, you know, what can you do? What can you do? You know? But, yeah. RIP to all those former NFL players that suffer from CTE. And like I said, hopefully they'll come up with a cure, which I believe they will. but we don't know how long that's going to be. But, it is what it is for now. There's nothing we can do. We just hope they have a wonderful career and hope they have a healthy retirement. So, yeah, that CTE situation, like I said, needs to be taken care of. But we shall see. We shall see. We shall see. Even if you don't play sports, a person still can suffer a concussion. A few many times you can get CTE. So this goes out to everybody in the world, every athlete, every non-athlete, everybody in the world. Be safe, protect yourself, try to protect yourself at all times to avoid a concussion from getting CTE. Yeah. So, this is the end of the episode for the Young Brother of Soul podcast episode. Before we get off, I'm going to need everybody to subscribe, hit that thumbs up, leave a comment, hit that notification button, and make sure y'all tune in for another episode of the Young Brother of Soul podcast show, which will be coming soon. But before we go off, like I said, CTE is a very serious situation. It needs to be taken care of real soon before it's too late. Them concussions are no joke. No joke. It's no joke. So, like I said, every athlete, non-athletes, try to protect yourself at all times. Please. But other than that, this is the end of the Young Brother of Soul podcast. Well, I shouldn't say end of the Young Brother of Soul podcast. This is the end of this episode of or on the Young Brother of Soul podcast show. So, like I said, make sure y'all subscribe, hit that thumbs up, leave a comment, hit that notification button. And like I said, there will be a new episode of the Young Brother of Soul podcast coming soon. Make sure y'all tune in. Well, I just want to say, the Young Brother of Soul, Young Brother of Soul. I just want to say, everybody, good night, stay safe, and make sure y'all tune in for that next episode of the Young Brother of Soul. Yes, I'm going to keep on saying it. I'm going to keep on saying it until y'all do. Yep. And like I said, I'm going to give a shout out to my cousin Tyrell for giving me this idea of an episode. Because like I said, CTE needs to be really looked at. Needs to be really looked at. Yeah. But all right, y'all. Like I said, stay safe. And thank you for watching the Young Brother of Soul podcast show. There will be more episodes coming. I know I keep repeating myself. I know. But all right, let me go ahead. Let me stop messing with y'all. But everybody be safe. And thank you for watching this episode of the Young Brother of Soul podcast show. Thank you.